Alrighty, Harrison with Sparrow. I wanted to just kind of briefly, share with you up to date what I've been doing on switching over our focus from just kind of working with CEOs to expanding our horizons with the Credit Unions Forum and talking with senior staff members of all different positions inside the credit union space. And I thought I would bring you on board to share with people in the credit union industry what you do, kind of what your background is, how you got into it, what you saw, what gaps there were that you could fill, and just kind of share us what your story is.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. My story begins, gosh, almost 7 years ago now. It was when I was going between a undergraduate and master's degree over at Stanford. And it was during that time when I was getting a coffee with a very close mentor of mine. Comes to this coffee in a brand new car. And I asked him out of curiosity, I said, "How'd you pay for the car?" And he goes, "Well, I got a great rate from my dealer." I said, "Wonderful, man. Which lender? I'll check him out." He goes, "The dealer." I was like, "Come on, dealers aren't lenders. Who's a lender?" He had no idea. So I go through his phone, find the receipt. Turns out it's to Stanford Federal Credit Union. So I asked him as a joke, "Do you know what a credit union is?" Now, for context, my mentor was borderline the valedictorian of his year at Stanford, yet his response to the question was not a yes or no, but more hauntingly a question back to me, which was, "What's a credit union?" And that was like cold water on my face, prompting curiosity. So I go to some other credit unions in the Bay Area and I ask them, I said, "Do you deal with this challenge where members come to you in search of a rate, not a relationship?" And every single one was like, "Oh, yeah." I then said, "Well, okay. Do you also have those that come to you looking for real connection?" And they said, "We do in some capacity." So I said, "Great. Where do those paths diverge?" And they said, "Well, it all comes down to whether or not we can build a relationship with the individual." Fair enough. How do you do that? And as they're explaining to me these examples of how they build relationships, all were contingent on the same phrase: when they come into a branch. My response is, what do you do for all the instances when they're not coming into a branch to build a relationship? How do you still maintain that same semblance of loyalty? And that's where the faces go long. They're like, well, then it's a lot harder. And I didn't appreciate why, because as you can probably tell, I'm a part of that Gen Z demographic.
Sure.
And so, to make a long story short, what ends up happening is we decide that we want to solve that problem. We want to enable a credit union the ability to deepen relationships with membership, Gen Z and others included like them, that are either unwilling or unable to come into a branch but do so digitally in the exact same way that they would have done physically in a branch without expecting the visit. So, at a 30,000 foot perspective, that's where we come from. That's what we do at a very high level. In terms of where we are across the country, we work with 162 credit unions ranging of all different asset sizes, up to 36 billion in assets, down to 6 million in assets with one employee. And it has been a pleasure serving about 6% of the entire credit union industry now.
That's kind of that's kind of fascinating that you started at such a young age too.
Yeah, it was I think the culmination of two things: a whole lot of luck to be able to have the opportunity and find the right folks to do it with. And the second piece is really trying to empathize with who we're solving problems for. We realize that our credit union partners are the center of our world. So much so that I actually joined the board of one of our partner credit unions. So I am the newest cherubic-faced youthful energy board director of 717 Credit Union, a $1.93 billion credit union in Warren, Ohio.
Now, I'm not going to put you I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I guess I am just because of the question. I'm guessing they're using the Sparrow platform.
717 is using the Spirit. That's how we got introduced, was they were a partner of ours. And then the relationship very naturally grew. And I found that they had a phenomenal, stellar team, and likewise, they wanted to have a new perspective, I think, come and join the board, and it's been a tremendous relationship so far.
Well, I know there's a lot of different nuances that Sparrow helps with credit unions. Real quick, and I know you don't have a lot of time here, but a lot of leaders worry that student loans are complex, low margin, high friction. What does the data actually say once Sparrow is implemented?
Great question. So, just to help level set with those that are watching, there are two sides to the Sparrow House. Side part one, two separate products, if you will. One product focuses on bringing in Gen Z through student loans. Separate product is unrelated to the first, and it's a marketing platform. And just to give a brief sentence on each, the student loan side of the house, easiest way to understand it is effectively turning the credit union into Expedia for student loans. The marketing side of the house is a bit broader. It's a bit more org wide. What we're doing there is helping credit unions to deepen relationships with current membership, but without expecting that in-branch visit. So, to give you an example, let's say that a credit union wanted to replicate the same type of onboarding process that would have happened face to face, that same level of timed, targeted, personalized approach, not wanting to run some arbitrary 30, 60, 90-day onboarding campaign. Or let's say that they wanted to front run account dormancy, final loan payoff. They wanted to automate these processes. Not to mention, they may say, I want to automate cross selling, not in the absence of the product, but in the need for it. Well, that's what the second side does. So, to the first, to answer your original question, the lift is immediate, not to mention it's discrete. So, we're able to directly show the percentage of individuals that engage that weren't members that elect to become members after engaging that platform. That's on the first side of the house. On the second side of the house, on the marketing side, we are the only system out there, bar none, that allows credit unions to truly monitor the real-time ROI of their efforts. We've built all of that under one roof. So much so that I'm in the process right now of trying to patent this. So we've got two separate sides to it, and it's been a pleasure engaging credit unions on both.
Okay. So, how should credit union leaders think about student loans? Not as a product, but as a life cycle entry point for a member's entire financial future.
Easiest way to think about it is put yourself in the shoes of an 18-year-old. If I'm 18, I don't need a mortgage. I don't need an auto loan. I don't need a CD. Maybe I need a credit card, but I probably won't qualify. What do I need financially? Maybe a checking account, for sure. Perhaps a debit card. But what's stopping me? What is gating me from social progression? Education. Being able to train myself to go off and do something useful with my life, earn a paycheck, drive value for a business, so on and so forth. If one can't afford to receive said opportunity, then their ceiling potential value to find in the market will eventually get capped. And what we find is if we're looking for a beachhead to engage the generation with something that is truly needed, there ought be nothing better than the thing holding them back from social progression. And that's an easy mental model to assess. So for a 18, 19-year-old, you simply have to ask yourself, what do I actually need versus what might I want versus what's completely irrelevant to me as a whole.
Okay. Now, we're dealing with a lot of senior staff leaders and CEOs from the credit union industry. That's who our, target listening audience is. How would you help them decide if they're too early, too late, or exactly on time to look at the platform like Sparrow?
Great question. And I'll leave you with this one, knowing that I got to jump here in a second, is so being a multi-product company that Sparrow is, I think the right question to ask oneself, if it's an appropriate time to engage, is it important for my credit union to do one of three things? Grow younger, wanting to get a younger demographic core to the credit union. Second is deepen relationships with my current membership across the board. And third is streamline opportunity to reduce strain off of my team's plate. If the credit union finds that one of those three things rises to the top of the list or to the top of a list, insofar as what's important strategically, that's where we usually begin a conversation. And it has been a pleasure beginning many of those conversations recently.
Alrighty. I know you're finishing up real fast in 30 seconds. If we fast forward 3 to 5 years, what will credit unions that embrace the Sparrow platform early and able to do that others simply can't?
Another great question. The short answer on this, with a single sentence, being able to meet members where they're at, as opposed to expecting them to come to you. And there are many ways in which we effectuate that through our relationships and partnerships. But in a single sentence, it's taking that step toward a modernized approach to engagement. And that is exactly what we are to do with them.
Alrighty. Well, folks, I want to thank Harrison for giving us a few minutes of his time and sharing with it. And if someone's interested in taking a closer look at Sparrow, how can they reach you, Harrison?
Just first name dot last name. So Harrison, Harrison dot Hochman, Hochman at sparrowfy.com. You can find us at sparrowfi.business or reach out to us over the various channel partnerships that we have through the Ohio Credit Union League and or CUNA Strategic Services, the national organization as well.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for your time, Harrison. You have a great day.
Thanks so much, Craig. Take care.